Hello and welcome. Happy New Year to a very special broadcast. Over the next 1 hour, we will try and decode what the new year 2026 is going to be like. We, meaning me, Geeta Mohan, Siddharth Zarabi, Nikhil Naz, Shriya Kundu, and our reporters will be explaining to you what challenges India faces in 2026.
How India stands its ground in a difficult neighborhood of South Asia and in the world, especially with Donald Trump's US, is what I'll explain to you.
I will explain what to look ahead in 2026 as far as the world of cinema and entertainment is concerned. And of course, we're all keeping our fingers crossed for Homebound's journey to the Oscars.
What our macroeconomy will look like, what are the opportunities and challenges, we only have to look at how 2025 panned out.
Money is the key, but there's something called sporting spirit that always rises above the challenges, and that's what I will explain. Now there's T20 and other cricket tournaments, but there's also Asia Cup and Commonwealth Games to look forward to this year.
Now, India faces daunting political challenges in 2026. In fact, the stakes once again will be very high, particularly this time for the opposition parties. Because other than the 4 states and the 1 union territory, assembly elections are scheduled for the first half of 2026. In many of the states, it's the opposition that is in power, a Kerala, a Bengal, and indeed a Tamil Nadu. So 2026 will open up with multiple challenges. There is, of course, also the first hurdle of the Special Intensive Revision, or SIR, that has caused so much of confusion. How will the state governments now respond to the SIR challenge? And will elections be truly free and fair is a debate that continues to rage. 2025 also, remember, ended on a strange note of the Thackeray cousins finally coming together in Maharashtra ahead of the local body elections, particularly the crucial Mumbai Municipal Corporation. How will that election result, scheduled for January, shape the politics of Mumbai's power corridors? And don't forget, there are power tussles taking place across the country, but nowhere quite as strident as in Karnataka, where the Chief Minister rotational power share formula is still up in the air. Will Siddaramaiah stick to his ground, or will D.K. Shivkumar be able to fulfill his ambition? Will Karnataka once again become a game of musical power chairs? All that and much more as we look at the political challenges that lie ahead in 2026.
A new year begins. With new hopes and new challenges. Indian politics in 2026 will have to evolve into cohesive, emphatic, and responsive rather than reactive. 4 states and a union territory vote in 2026. Opposition-ruled powerhouses like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, West Bengal, along with BJP-ruled Assam and Puducherry will be choosing their next government. BJP eyes southern breakthroughs via alliances with AIADMK, but Dravidian resistance remains fierce. In Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan's CPIM faces anti-incumbency, potentially fragmenting left votes. In West Bengal, Trinamool Congress faces charges of misgovernance as far as law and order and corruption is concerned. BJP hopes to graduate from the opposition bench in Bengal Assembly to the ruling side. But the bigger challenge is to defeat the cult of the 15-year-old Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and her trademark politics of Ma, Mati, Manush.
देश को आजाद करने का लड़ाई है माटी लड़ाइए এই যুদ্ধে আমি জিন্দেগি মাটিতে কুরবানি দিয়ে গেলাম আপনাদের পায়ের তলায়
While Kolkata and part of South Bengal might tilt towards the saffron, rural Bengal might still favor the Trinamool for its welfare schemes. For its larger-than-life leader Mamata Banerjee. In Assam and Puducherry, BJP faces anti-incumbency challenges. The 10-year-old BJP government with Himanta Biswa Sarma as the chief minister for the past 5 years has to deal with allegations of governance lapses and social tensions, creating potential openings for challenges. The opposition led by the Congress and regional parties like the Assam Gana Parishad will seek to exploit local issues such as unemployment and environmental concerns. In Puducherry, NDA will try hard to remain the union territory within its flank while it spreads its footprints across the state. Election Commission will be announcing special intensive revision of electoral rolls round 3, and what remains to be seen is how the commission tackle the charges of time pressure and logistics challenges that in the previous round allegedly drove some BLOs to commit suicide. Besides, the opposition allegations of vote chori will remain a thorn in the side of the poll body as 4 states and 1 union territory vote for new governments. In Maharashtra, the BJP Shiv Sena NCP alliance teeters amid corruption allegations against Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. Parivars like the Thackeray cousins and Pawars made moves to come together. The coming together of the giant political families, ironing out the rifts, will definitely impact local body elections to be held in the first month of 2026. The results of this election will certainly have a ripple effect in the state politics. Externally, 2026 brings intensified border frictions. China's build-up in Ladakh persists post-2020 Galwan, with satellite imagery revealing new helipads. Pakistan-sponsored terror activities in Jammu and Kashmir surges, testing Home Minister Amit Shah's zero-tolerance policy. India and Pakistan continue to stand on the opposite sides of peace. Wounds from Pahalgam attack of 2025 and the Operation Sindoor that followed are yet to be healed.
तिथि लिख कर रखो 31 मार्च 2026 को पूरे देश से नक्सलवाद को हम समाप्त कर देंगे.
The deadline approaches. While the government in the past couple of years showed remarkable progress in infiltrating the Red Corridor and eliminating Red Brigade either through encounters or surrenders, what remains to be seen is that the development initiatives carried out by the government ensures that there is no resurgence in Red Rebellion in future. On the side of the opposition, 2026 could turn out to be a pivotal one. The Indie bloc's unity, fragile after past 2 years of electoral failures, hinges on Congress's leadership capability to keep it together. In the run-up to 2029 general elections, it is important that Congress as the main opposition party finds a stronger foothold and not deter. In this scheme of things, what happens in Karnataka in 2026 will play a crucial role. Telangana and Karnataka are the only 2 states where Congress is in power. Out of the two in Karnataka, the power tussle between Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar has been going on since the day the poll verdict was announced in 2024. There were expectations of power sharing between the two after completing the halfway mark for the 5-year term. Siddaramaiah has announced that he will serve a full term, leaving the DK's camp disappointed.
ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ತಪ್ಪಿಸೋಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಡಿ ಅಂತೂ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ಹಕ್ಕು ಅವ್ರದ್ದು. ನಾನು ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅಭ್ಯರ್ಥಿ ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿಡೇಟು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಿಮವಾಗಿ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ.
Sir, if there is a change of power in the state, it will be only DK Shivakumar, nobody else. No other leaders are in the race according to AICC sources.
Still it has not been whatever the party high command tells. Myself and Siddaramaiah, we are there to adhere by it and we'll go by it.
In this troubled water, Karnataka Home Minister G. Parmeshwara has also joined in as possible candidate for Chief Minister musical chair.
Somebody asked me, are you in the race? Where is the race as such? Is there a race? You know, casually I said yes, I'm always there. You know, every time there is talk about this, there is always my name props up. So that is why I said that.
The Congress High Command needs to keep the flock together and deliver good governance in a state where crumbling civic amenities and rising corruption charges challenge the stability of Karnataka government. Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, now there is more to politics than just party politics or elections. One of the key issues that could shape the political agenda of 2026 is the environment, where we are seeing growing clashes between political interests, business interests, and indeed civic concerns of the citizens of the country. Will, for example, you and I, the people of India, get to breathe clean air in our cities? Or will it all be about rhetoric and little action on the ground? Will clean Yamuna remain a dream, or will it become a reality? And what about the tussle over mining, especially in fragile ecosystems like the Aravalli Hills and indeed right across this country? Will ecology be put at the top of the agenda? Will our politicians be able to balance growth and development while ensuring that this country's biodiversity is protected? And remember, there is the climate change challenge. Along with rising temperature, severe monsoonic conditions have led to floods and landslides with increasing frequency. Will our politicians be there to fight for the environment? Take a look.
Dense fog in North India in December is normal. Battling air pollution across North India is the new normal. Even the financial capital of the country suffers from hazardous air quality. According to the environmental experts, both human-made emissions and natural atmospheric conditions are working together to trap pollutants over Indian cities. Top major contributors are construction surge and vehicular emissions. Yet the Indian Parliament failed to discuss or spare even a minute for this severe crisis in the winter session of 2025. Evidently, there is lack of collective will to work for a green future, while Indian politicians continue to blame game and bicker. On 15th December 2025, when world soccer legend Lionel Messi came calling in Delhi, the capital city recorded 450 AQI, which falls into the severe plus category. At the stadium, the Chief Minister of Delhi was booed as a group of people raised slogans when she came on stage. Two days later, on 17th December, Indian all-rounder Hardik Pandya wore a face mask during Team India's practice session, held amidst intense fog ahead of the 4th T20 International against South Africa in Lucknow. The match was abandoned that evening, without a ball being bowled at the Ekana Cricket Stadium, as smog reduced visibility and increased high risk for players and spectators. Fans were left waiting for more than 3 hours as umpires made as many as 7 inspections, but not even the toss was possible in the end. Iconic monuments like the India Gate or the Taj Mahal disappearing in the smog is now a very common thing in India. Seasonal stopgap measurements are implemented with very little effect. India lacks a cohesive and empowered green policy that its politicians adhere to. On the night of 6th December 2025, a fire at a nightclub in North Goa killed 25 people. Glaring lapses included the club's layout, other than the narrow entry and exit points. Its location along the backwaters and a basement kitchen with no ventilation that turned the fire into a deadly trap. Makes it glaringly clear that the club did not follow fire safety norms. But it was functional and profiteering under the very eyes that should have stopped it from coming up in the first place. According to the Regional Plan 2021, the area where the Burj by Romeo Lane was built in North Goa is zoned as a salt pan, classified as Eco 1, and is clearly marked as a no development zone. This is Khazan land, a centuries-old engineered ecosystem featuring an intricate network of bunds, sluice gates and fields that manage the tidal flow of saline water. Yet, it gets constructed and peddled as the only island club of India, and ran without any impunity till the fire killed people. It was a clear brazen violation of any environmental concern, and authorities looked the other way till the time they could no more. Every monsoon, the hills have landslides, and a hue and cry is made about rampant construction with complete disregard for ecology. Plains get flooded because the monsoon water has no outlet. Urbanization has closed the nalas, and water bodies are filled that earlier allowed excess water to drain out. State governments and central governments play pass the buck game till another season of disasters hit. Yamuna continues to stink despite loud promises. Elections are fought and lost, pegged on the green promises, yet forgotten in a blink right after assumption of power. Indian coastal metropolitan cities like Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata get submerged each monsoon. Governments blame the British-era civic works and overcrowding of the cities and forget that it's their responsibility to deliver better amenities when seasonal turmoil hits. In the last month of 2025, people in Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi and western Uttar Pradesh came together for the Aravalis. After the Supreme Court of India passed a judgment on 28th November that only the hills that are 100 meters or higher would be considered a part of the hills. It essentially removed the green protection from any hill with less than 100 meters height, allowing indiscriminate mining and erosion in the name of development. The order was based on the government's stance that a clear definition for the ranges was needed to formulate developmental policies. Those who disagreed with the government and the court called the judgment a death warrant for the Aravalis.
The committee recommended that to ensure sustainable mining in Aravali Hill and Range, no new mining lease, except in case of critical strategic and atomic mineral. तो कोई नई माइनिंग की वो विषय नहीं है.
On 24th December, the government said no new mining leases will be issued. The Aravalis, after all, acts as a bulwark against desertification and pollution. The anger on the streets was loud. Leading the charge was Indian Gen Z. The pressure worked. The Supreme Court has put its own order on hold, staying the centre's definition of the Aravali Hill Range. The top court initiated suo motu proceedings, admitting that critical clarifications are needed. When the veteran lawmakers failed, the future of India rose to fight for its green rights, paving way for a brighter day ahead. For 2026, India's key environmental challenges involve accelerating its energy transition, reducing coal dependence, despite renewable growth, managing escalating climate impacts like floods, heat waves, tackling severe urban pollution of air and water, addressing fragmented governance, and securing adequate climate finance for adaptation. All these need to be done while India faces global pressures like the EU's CBAM and implementing national targets for a sustainable future. Indian politicians across the spectrum have to come together to ensure that green issues gain political currency and at least a change starts now in 2026. Bureau Report, India Today.
We are stepping into 2026 on the back of what has really been a stupendous 2025, despite all the challenges, despite the US tariffs and the ongoing global uncertainty. Let me just recount for you at least a dozen and more massive and big reform moves. And this is perhaps not fully being captured. The simplification of the goods and services tax. What a massive benefit it has provided to consumption. The New Look Rural Employment Act, and while there is political opposition, remember it proposes to put in more money effectively in the hands of rural workers. Of course, implementation will have to be watched out for. Decriminalization of lots of laws, the Jan Vishwas bill, the repeal of several dozen outdated laws, and many more are going to come in. Quality control orders that were holding back Indian exports and several sectors, they have been repealed. Look at the reform as far as nuclear power is concerned, the Shanti Bill. The new reforms as far as shipping is concerned to make India a global maritime and shipping manufacturing hub. One could go on and on about many of the key things that have happened in 2025, and with our growth holding up in 2025, it's clear on the back of these reforms and several others that are planned in 2026, India's economy will perhaps be even better. But there are challenges, and the primary challenge will be a resolution of the ongoing trade impasse with the United States of America. That's the big thing that we really have to watch out for. Of course, the budget in February will provide the direction for the rest of the financial year and tell us how India grapples with all the external challenges but keeps its domestic economic momentum up and running.
India enters 2026 playing on a strong economic pitch, but also on a sticky wicket. At the center of the uncertainty are Trump tariffs. 11 months of India-US trade talks have yielded little, and a trade deal remains elusive as the new year begins. Businesses, exporters, workers, investors, and policymakers are all watching closely. Because what happens in these talks could shape jobs, incomes, and prices across India in 2026. India managed 3 trade deals in 2025 with the United Kingdom, Oman, and New Zealand. But Trump tariffs, both reciprocal and punitive, amounting to a whopping 50%, has impacted export-heavy sectors like IT services, textiles, and manufacturing. Many of them major job providers. The pace at which the US is shifting visa goalposts also remains a major concern for all from software hubs to government towns. India drives into 2026 with the GDP growth engines chugging at an incredible 8% in the first half of 2025 to 2026. But the growth bonanza comes with its own cost pressures on the middle class, which remain stubbornly high. The official inflation levels are the multi-year lows, but erratic monsoons and supply gaps have kept food prices high. For many households, the kitchen budget, led by dal, vegetables and staples, is under constant strain. Crude oil prices are currently low thanks to a slowdown in the Chinese economy and the resulting glut in the market. But India's high dependence on imported oil means global tensions directly affect local prices. The continuing tensions with Russia and the American obsession with Venezuela could hit the volatile market, pushing up travel, transport, and household expenses. Fuel costs quietly raise the prices of almost everything we buy. Job creation, according to the analysts, is not keeping pace with the red-hot economy. Jobs are being created, but not fast enough. Despite new government initiatives, many young Indians struggle to find stable, well-paying work, especially outside major cities. Cracks are appearing in the American dream for many, with the Trump administration clamping down on job visas. The Indian consumer is also grappling with a weak rupee as 2025 ends. The Indian currency fell below the 91 to $1 mark in December, and despite the RBI intervention, remains on a weak wicket, mainly due to trade deal uncertainties and the foreign portfolio outflow from stock markets. A weaker rupee adds pressure to household and corporate budgets, pushing up prices of imports like fuel, electronics, and machinery. For policymakers, one of the biggest concerns remain private investment or capex. While the government continues to spend heavily on roads, railways, ports and infrastructure, many private companies are still hesitant to invest in new factories, offices or large expansion projects. Uneven demand, concerns about profitability are only some of the reasons forcing businesses to delay or downsize investment plans. This also impacts the wage growth and hits small businesses and MSMEs. Also hanging by a thin thread are state finances. With 5 states, Assam, West Bengal, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, headed for assembly elections in 2026, governments are increasing spending on freebies and subsidies to attract the voters. These schemes put heavy pressure on state finances and increase debt, making less funds available for long-term needs like education, healthcare, roads and jobs. Yet, amid these challenges, the government has laid the groundwork for change. In 2025, the Modi government pushed ahead with major reforms, boosting consumption by lowering GST rates, opening the insurance and pension sectors to foreign investments, opening the nuclear industry to private firms and unifying the country's securities market laws under a single code. All eyes now turn to the Budget 2026 to be announced in February. Households and businesses hope it will ease cost pressures, boost jobs and restore confidence. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
2026 begins as a year of high stakes for India, navigating a turbulent neighborhood from Pakistan to Bangladesh, managing a complex relationship with China, and balancing pressures from US tariffs that test its economic resilience. The question is, can India assert its strength, protect its interests, and lead with strategic autonomy in a rapidly changing world?
2026 is not a year of opportunity for India. It is a year of reckoning. Because the warning signs were already written in 2025, in blood, in tariffs, and in collapsing neighborhoods. Let's start with terror. The Pahalgam terror attack was not just another strike in Kashmir. It was a message, a reminder that Pakistan-backed jihadist networks remain active, patient and adaptive. India's response, Operation Sindoor, was swift and calibrated. Terror infrastructure was hit, deterrence was reasserted, but deterrence is not resolution. As India moves into 2026, the challenge is multifold. Pakistan has not dismantled its terror ecosystem, it has simply outsourced deniability. And behind that ecosystem stands one man, Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir, better known as the Jihadi General. More ideological, more confrontational, and less predictable than his predecessors. Munir's Pakistan is weaker economically, but more dangerous strategically. Terrorism remains its cheapest weapon. It now has the backing of Washington due to its own vested interest. So India must prepare for provocations designed to stay below the threshold of war while testing New Delhi's resolve again and again. Now, if we add the United States factor, Donald Trump's return to tariff politics startled New Delhi. The Modi-Trump bonhomie is not useful anymore. Punitive duties, trade pressure, and public arm twisting exposed a hard truth. Strategic partnership does not mean economic immunity. In 2026, India faces a dilemma: deepen defense and security ties with Washington while absorbing trade shocks that directly hurt growth, manufacturing, and exports. This is not alliance politics, this is transactional geopolitics. And it leaves India squeezed between American pressure on one side and Chinese economic gravity on the other. Then comes the neighborhood, where instability has become the norm. In Bangladesh, the fall of Sheikh Hasina was not just a domestic political shift, it was a geopolitical earthquake. The vacuum that followed saw unrest, uncertainty, and rising anti-India sentiment. For New Delhi, the challenge in 2026 is stark. how to protect strategic interests and minorities in Bangladesh without being dragged into its internal chaos. Further north, Nepal's Gen Z-driven political upheaval has exposed how fragile India's traditional influence has become. A younger, angrier political class, suspicious of India, open to China, is reshaping Kathmandu's worldview. India's old playbook no longer works. Emotional ties mean little in an era of viral nationalism and social media mobilization. And beyond Nepal and Bangladesh lies a bigger problem: China's silent advance into South Asia, filling every vacuum left by instability. Which brings us back to Beijing. China remains India's most complex challenge in 2026. The border is tense but quiet. Trade continues despite mistrust. Diplomacy exists without confidence. Any Indian response to Pakistan is watched by China. Any Quad move is measured in Beijing. Any economic decoupling risks self-harm. India is forced to compete with China without provoking it into escalation. That balancing act now defines India's foreign policy. And nowhere is that balancing act more exposed than in India's minilateral diplomacy. In 2026, New Delhi will chair BRICS Plus while engaging deeply with the Quad. Two platforms, two audiences, two completely different expectations. Through BRICS, India wants development, energy security, and global South leadership without turning the bloc into an anti-West alliance dominated by China. Through the Quad, India wants maritime security, resilient supply chains, and Indo-Pacific stability without becoming part of a formal military bloc. The risk is real. A stronger Quad angers China. A louder BRICS empowers China. The test for India in 2026 is whether it can extract real outcomes from both without losing strategic credibility or autonomy. This is no longer about idealism. It is about survival in a fractured world order. So what is India's core challenge in 2026? It is not war. It is not peace. It is managing simultaneous pressure, terror from Pakistan, tariffs from the US, instability in the neighborhood, and strategic competition with China without overreacting, without retreating, and without choosing sides too early. The margin for error is thin. The cost of miscalculation is high. So the question is, can India stay firm without becoming rigid, flexible without appearing weak, and autonomous without standing alone? That answer will define India's place in the world, not just this year, but for the decade ahead. With Rudrashish Kanjila, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Okay, so 2026 is going to be a very busy, newsy year, and we at India Today will be here to bring you all the latest from each and every sector that influences your lives, that makes a difference to you, including our campaign, remember, in 2026 for clean air, water, and indeed for the earth itself.
US President Donald Trump is expected to visit India this year. And mind you, this would be his first visit to India since he came back in Oval Office. And most probably, that would be in the first 6 months of 2026. And it would set the ball rolling for many agreements, many creases to be ironed out, or few new ones to appear. You never know. We'll follow every move and decode them for you like always.
Absolutely, Geeta. That visit would have everyone's attention, and that will be where the focus is going to be. But hopefully, like we discussed, 2026 will be the year where everyone will look forward to a resolution on the trade front. Remember all the troubles that have been created as far as visas and H-1B are concerned, and also look at some of the other macro developments that have an impact going forward. Look at what has happened to gold prices, silver prices. Those increases also have in some ways a second round impact on the Indian economy. What will happen as far as crude oil is concerned and our purchase of Russian crude, that's been a very, very key sticky point. And the markets as well as other analysts will be looking out for in the first few months of 2026 whether we are going to resolve all of those and continue to ensure that both the reform agenda as well as the domestic consumption-led economic boom continue at a very fast pace.
Now 2026 is going to be a crucial one for Indian sports. Other than cricket, for all sporting categories this year is going to work as a foundation for India's next Olympic dream.
Now, the release of Ramayan will certainly be the most anticipated one. But as I said earlier, 2026 begins with a hope that Homebound gets the Oscar back home. And this is what we are looking forward to.
So, well, that brings us to the close of this special broadcast as we look ahead to the challenges of 2026. All of us are hoping and rooting that we all have a better future and a prosperous 2026. Here's wishing all of you a happy, healthy new year.